Is it time for the Saints to start Tyler Shough at quarterback? We'll talk about that right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast. Welcome inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rosvogu, and as always, the Straight Up Saints podcast is brought to you by Scott Fickner Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, hurt offshore, Scott Fickner handles it all. You give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. They'll always fight for the win. The Saints fell to 1-7 on the season. Really brutal loss against the Buccaneers, losing 23-3. And what was by far and away the most interesting aspect of the game, besides the fact that the Saints offense was literally inept, was that Spencer Rattler got benched in the second half for Tyler Shough. And it was his first meaningful action in an NFL game, not the, end of the game where you're getting blown out, throw him in there like Seattle. Playing him against the Bucs, seeing what he can do. Tyler Shough had 30 pass attempts in this game. So you got to see a little bit of the rookie. And you saw some good, definitely saw some bad. Missed touchdown throw to Rashid Shaheed in the fourth quarter. And then the in-between, right? He throws an interception on a ball that isn't perfect, but really shouldn't become an interception. Chris Olave shouldn't get the ball ripped out of his hands. And obviously when the game ends, everyone wants to discuss whether or not there should be a quarterback change. And you're going to have some people who are very loyal to keeping Spencer Rattler in and saying he is not the problem and, he needs more talent around him. And you're not wrong about needing more talent. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But the Saints have an interesting decision to make. You are through 8 games. You're 1-7. And even if you like Rattler, there's 2 stats that are very hard to ignore. And again, this is not all on Spencer Rattler, but he is the starting quarterback. They are 27th in the NFL in yards per game, total offense. And they are 29th in points per game. 27th in yards, 29th in points per game. You're not going to win a lot of football games when you're that far down the stats column. In those 2 categories, you're just not going to win a lot of games. Now, at the end of the day, for Spencer Rattler, especially the first, I'd say 6 games of the season, it was very easy, especially for me, especially games like the Patriots game where I thought he played well, to be like, man, he really isn't the problem. And if anything, he's playing pretty good game manager football. But the last 2 weeks haven't been the case. He's had 6 turnovers in the last 2 games. And what makes it really frustrating, it's really 6 turnovers in 6 quarters, to be quite honest. And the mistakes he's made, and the mistakes he made last week, resurfaced again in week 8 against the Buccaneers. And when that happens, it's really frustrating because the way Rattler plays, it's a lot of safe football, not taking a lot of chances. So not saying you want to live with that, but you understand it. When you have that paired with the turnovers, it's really hard to play that type of quarterback because you're not going to be able to win football games. You have no chance if they're limited and they're turning over the football. So I was willing to throw out the 0-6 record that Rattler had last year. I don't think win-loss is fair to put it all on the quarterback. And even this year, Rattler's 1-7. So lifetime, he's 1-13 as a quarterback. And a lot of people are going to see that and say that's the reason to bench him. The way I look at it, and the reason why I think the Saints have to start Tyler Shough for the rest of the season, is we've seen 14 games of Spencer Rattler. There's been some good. There's definitely been some bad. But at the end of the day, there's never been a moment where I really thought he's the franchise guy. And you just kind of know it when you see it, You've seen it with Drake May, who, by the way, I don't think has a ton of talent in New England. Has great coaching with Mike Vrabel, but that is not a loaded wide receiver room. Stephon Diggs is good, but he's older. Kayshon Boutte's having a nice season, but still he has to develop. Demario Douglas is an okay receiver. Obviously good tight end play, right? Hunter Henry's a very good tight end, but they are not loaded with weapons. They're not. But you've seen it with Drake May. Last year with Jaden Daniels, you see it, right? Taking a team to the NFC Championship game as a rookie. And I think for Rattler, there's no doubt about it, offensive weapons don't help him. And Tyler Shough learned that early in his first game today. Really learned that. Drop passes from Jawan, running game non-existent. Olave gets the ball ripped out of his hands. Rashid Shaheed almost fumbles. So you'll learn it real quickly. The Saints skill players aren't going to do you any favors. But the Saints are 1-7. They're going nowhere but up the draft board at this point, okay? They're going to be picking top 3 at this rate. As of today, they own the number 1 pick. And I think for New Orleans, you got to get an answer. Is this kid can play football or not? And if Tyler Shough can play football, great, man. It'd be great if the Saints go into next year's draft not needing a quarterback. But that's probably not the likelihood. The likelihood is that he isn't a good quarterback. But you got to get that answer. And I think the fact that Shough played today and the offense looked exactly the same as it did with Rattler is probably more reason to keep the rookie in and see if he learns and gets better. Rattler made improvements, no doubt about it, but were the improvements drastic enough over his 14 starts where you felt like he had a franchise quarterback? The answer is no. And that doesn't mean Rattler's not going to be in the NFL. He's going to be in the NFL for a long time. I think he really could be one of the premier backups because he's good at being a game manager. He doesn't make a ton of mistakes outside of the last 2 games. And I think guys are easy to, they'll like him. He's an easy guy to play with. But Shough, look, you don't have a lot on him, and you have 10 games to figure this thing out. And I think it's imperative, 9 games now, excuse me. I think it's imperative that New Orleans gets an answer on Shough and figures out if he can play football in the NFL. And I think at the end of the day, Kellen Moore picked him for a reason. And maybe this offense will feature a little bit more RPOs. Maybe that athleticism of Shough will come into play more. Remember, he had a really good 40-yard dash time. And look, you're still going to get a live arm. You're going to get a live arm. And I think for Shough, I'm willing to see, even if this ends up being an absolute train wreck, the Saints put him out there for the final 9 games just so they could get an answer. Because at this point, for the quarterback position, all that matters for the Saints right now is making sure that they know he can or can't play football at the highest level. And if they finish the season not having an answer on that, then they're absolutely screwed, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens, but I think they have to start Shough. Like I said, it's Kellen Moore's guy. You've already seen Rattler. You very, very clearly know he is not going to be the franchise guy. So now get an answer on Tyler Shough. And I think, look, at this point, you've played 8 games. It's not like you're benching Rattler for no reason. Okay? 6 turnovers in 2 games, a lot of fucking turnovers. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset about it. I get that. And maybe there'll be some fans that are going to be like, hey, screw it. Now I'm going to hope Shough sucks. And all right, fine. I think that's kind of stupid. But at the end of the day, the Saints got to do what's best for this organization. Now, I could argue there's a lot of other things they could do that's best for this organization. Fire sale, maybe get a new GM. But right now, if we're just talking about the personnel on the field, playing Tyler Shough makes the most sense for this team. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Do you think the New Orleans Saints should make the switch to Tyler Shough full-time for the rest of the season? Or do you want them to roll out with Rattler again and see if he bounces back from those past 2 rocky games that he's had? Let us know in the comment section below. And as always, make sure to subscribe for more from the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.